Have you ever wondered how to get the cup part of your corset or bustier formed just right? What types of tools do you need? Well, today I'm going to show you, so stick around. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aletha of Ribbons and Zippers, and today I am going to show you how to make your own cup pressing hem. So this hem is similar to these hems in the way that they all are designed to form and shape parts of the garment. Shape them during construction, that is. While this is for sleeves and small openings, this one is for collars, jackets, and larger garments. And the cup pressing hem helps to form and shape the cups for your corsets, bustiers, and swimsuits and bras. So if you are thinking of sewing any one of those type of garments, or maybe even summer dresses with built-in bustiers, this type is just what you need. The tools that you're going to need are simple, and if you're already into sewing and crafting, maybe you already have some of these items on hand. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you are going to need is a 5-inch styrofoam ball. You're going to need a serrated knife or something that has serrated teeth. You're going to need some permanent markers, also aluminum foil. You're going to need batting, preferably cotton batting, which is a little thicker. You're going to need a measuring tape, also a calculator, a ruler, and a curved ruler as well. You're going to need a hot glue gun, and don't forget the glue sticks. Get as many glue sticks as you can because you're going to need them. You're going to need plenty of them. You're going to need a pencil, paper, and you're also going to need some fabric. Cotton fabric, or like these other hems, they have wool. They're covered in wool. So you're also going to need a base. So I'm using hard plastic like this. You may need to use cardboard if you'd like, or even stiff felt. You can get this stiff felt in a craft store, but it's thick enough to put on the bottom to suffice as a base. So to begin, I am going to start by drawing a circle. Your cup pressing hem should be around 5 inches in diameter, or 12 to 13 centimeters in diameter. So you can use your tape measure to create a circle. To do that, just start at a middle point and measure out 2.5 inches all the way around. Or you can also use a compass like this one. It's really easy to use. Or you can use a ruler like this one. This one has holes, which I love. So what I do is I use a pin or something to stick into one of the holes to hold my ruler in place, and with a marker I draw out my circle. Now we have a nice circle here that is 5 inches in diameter, and that is just what we want. So this is going to be my base. Next, we need to cut the styrofoam ball in half, but first let me explain the size of the ball. There is a listed size and there is an actual size. They are always smaller, so you need to take that into consideration. For instance, this ball is number 5. It is actually 4.7 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to cut my ball in half with my serrated knife. Notice that I make marks around the ball so that I can get a straight cut. So now I have two halves, and notice that the circumference of the ball is just a little smaller than our circle. But that's okay because we're going to pad the ball. Now let's cut out the circle. Now that I have my circle cut out, I need to measure the circumference of my circle. It measures 16 inches. So it's 5 inches in diameter and 16 inches around. That's the circumference. I need to remember that, so I'm going to write it down. The next step that we're going to do is wrap the ball. It's styrofoam, so we don't want it to melt when we use our hot iron. So we're going to use aluminum foil to protect it. 2 or 3 pieces will do. Make it as tight as you can and then cut off the excess. Don't wrap it on the bottom. And don't worry, these scissors are my everything scissors. Alright, so what I've done is cut 2 squares out of my batting that is 8.5 inches, because remember I said that my circumference is 16 inches. So that means when I measure around halfway, it's 8 inches. So no matter how you cut the circle, halfway is going to be 8 inches if your circumference is 16 inches. So I cut my square to 8.5 inches because I need to be able to wrap under my mold. At this point, I have my glue gun heating up over by my sewing table. While that's heating up, I'm going to pin my batting to my mold like this on each side. Pull it as tight as you can. So now you have all these excesses, these triangles that we have to cut off. To do that, I'm going to pinch from the top of the triangle to form a curved crease. And then I'm going to cut from the tip of the crease while pinching the batting close together and keeping my scissors close to the ball. Okay, so now we have a curved opening. And I can cut this a little bit more to try to get it as smooth to the ball as possible. So now I can remove the pins, and do you see how I've created a curve? That's what I want, because we can't use a square to cover a circle. Now we can take our little pattern and use it to cut out the other ends. And I can't forget my little tip. So once I cut out my batting, I use it to cut the other piece. When you're done, just use several pins to hold it in place and then hot glue the batting to the mold. Make sure that you are satisfied with the 2 pieces. You may want to use 1 more piece of batting if that's your choice. Okay, so here is my nicely covered round cup pressing ham in progress. So now I'm going to measure my mold one more time. Let's measure it again. Since I added batting, it's bigger. I get 9 inches. I don't want to fall short of fabric, so I'm going to go with 9.5 inches. I also want to measure my circumference again. I'm getting 16 inches. So now that I have my adjusted measurements, I can go ahead and make a paper pattern for my fabric. So I'm going to need my rulers, a straight ruler and a curved ruler. I'm going to need my calculator as well. So my first measurement across is going to be 9.5 inches. Then I need to measure down. So half of 9.5. So half of 9.5 is 4.25. But to be on the safe side, I'm going to go 4.5. Now I didn't mention this quilting ruler as one of your tools. You don't need it. I just like using it. So I'm going to measure down 4.5 and then square everything off. So now let's find the exact center of 9.5. Use your calculator and divide by 2. And that's 4.75. So we need to mark that point at the top and at the bottom. Okay, so now here's the cool part. Take the 4.75 and get half of that. You can do it on your calculator and you'll get 2.375. Another easy way is to take your tape measure and fold it to the 4.75 and you will get 2 3/8. So now locate the mark on the bottom of your pattern and put it on the 2 3/8 mark. Mark 4.75 and mark the 0 at the end of the tape. So now we have some points to reference. We want to mimic our mold, which is round. So we want to draw curves from the top point to the bottom points. We can use our curved ruler for this, or you can freehand it. So here's my curve. I'm going to trace it with the marker so that you can see it better. Now I want to add seam allowance to my curve and the top of my pattern. I don't need to add it to the sides or the bottom because it's already included. Now that I have my pattern, I'm going to cut my pieces out. Now take your pieces over to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sew it along the curve. Okay, here's my first half. This is what the pattern looked like. Here's my nicely curved seam. Now remember, we have another 1/4 of an inch here. Let's take a look at it. Make sure it fits. It looks great. Now let's go ahead and sew the other side. Here we have our two pieces with our 1/4 inch seam. We have to clip our seams because it's a curve. That's going to allow it to lie smooth with no puckering. Okay everyone, I'd like to take this moment to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. If you like what you see, if you're really getting good tips and techniques, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell because I am going to make videos that I think that you're going to enjoy and you don't want to miss them. So guys, quick note. We're going to be stretching our fabric across the mold, so it's a good idea to sew another stitch right on top of the first stitch to give it a little more strength. After you clip your seam, you need to iron it flat and cut narrow pieces of interfacing and iron it over the seam. Then put your pieces together right side to right side and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here's my fabric. It fits perfectly. And since I doubled my seams and interfaced them, they are very strong. It's going to hold up to any amount of pulling. Now, even though this looks really good and it's nice and tight, I can still feel some of the hot glue. it feels a little bumpy. I don't want any imprints coming through onto my cups. So I'm going to add a softer batting on top of my cotton batting. So this one is nice and soft and it really smooths out everything. So I'm going to cut this batting down to size. I'm going to pull and stretch my fabric as tight as I can, then secure them with some pins like this. Try to do opposite sides at a time. You will see all the wrinkles just disappear. Now I'm going to go ahead over to my glue gun and glue everything down. Now I'm going to use the same soft polyester batting to trace my circle. I'm going to use 3 layers for this so I'll have a nice cushion. Now I'm going to trace around it, pin it, and cut it out. Now I have to cut my fabric. I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this fabric. I'm going to use my circle again, but I want to add a 1/2 inch more, so I'll have enough to tuck under. So just pin it and cut it out. So now I'm going to layer my fabric, my batting, and my plastic circle together, and it's ready for the hot glue. So now I'll just fold the fabric onto the plastic and hot glue it down. Okay, so here we have both parts. I used the hot glue to secure the fabric onto the mold and the base, and it looks awesome. Now we need to attach the base with the hot glue. Now that the mold is attached to the base, we are almost done. The bust mold, bust ham, pressing ham, or whatever you like to call it is just what you need to create beautifully formed cups for your corsets, your bustiers, your bras, or whatever you're going to make. It's ready. Now if you want to decorate it, you can. You can use cord of any color. Here is some twine for a rustic look. You can use satin ribbon or grosgrain ribbon like this. The choice is up to you. So guys, that's it for this tutorial on this beautiful mold. This is whatever you want to call it, a bust mold or a bra mold or just another ham. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I would love for you to come back because next video I'm going to be using this to create a gorgeous dress with the bustier inside, and I think that you're gonna like it. See you in the next video.